So this video is going to go through the warm-up for Chapter 8, Day 3, which is a review of the law of sines, which we talked about yesterday. So if we look at the first triangle here, we're asked to solve the triangle by finding the missing sides and missing angles. So the first thing I like to do is just kind of create a little chart here of the three sides and the three angles, and then fill in the information that I have, just so I have an idea of how I want to start or what I want to do to begin finding the missing information. So what I look at here is we're given two angles and one of the sides. The first thing I like to do when I have two angles is to find the third angle. You don't have to set up a law of sines or anything. You can just use the fact that the sum of three angles in a triangle adds up to 180. So the first thing I would do is find angle C. The way I would do that is 180 minus 50 minus 35, which is 95 degrees. So then at this point I have all three angles, and I'm going to now want to find the missing sides, which are sides B and C. Now for me, I like to make this chart to put all of my information there, and then I just put a box around my little chart, and then I have all my missing information. You could also choose to put that information on the triangle, just label everything there. Or, obviously, as you're finding each piece of information, just put a box around that. That works too. It's just nice to kind of put it all in one place just to make sure you're approaching the problem correctly. Either way, what I'm going to find next is side B. You could find side C next if you wanted, but I have angle A and side A, and angle B and missing side B. So what I would set up is a law of sines using that information. So sine of 50 degrees over 12, that's angle A and side A, equals sine of 35 over B, which is the side that I want to find. So then I would solve for B. So I'd clear fractions here or cross multiply. It's the same thing in terms of how to solve this. So I'd get B sine of 50 equals 12 sine of 35. And then I would divide both sides by sine of 50. So B is going to be equal to 12 sine of 35 divided by sine of 50. One thing you want to do here is make sure your calculator is in degree mode, and then just be careful how you type this in. So I'd do 12 sine of 35 in its own set of parentheses divided by sine of 50. It's not going to matter if you put it in parentheses or not, because your calculator is going to handle the order of operations correctly, but it's a good idea to kind of put everything in the top in its own set of parentheses and everything in the bottom in its own set of parentheses, just to be sure that your calculator is going to operate correctly. So then what I would get for side B would be 8.985. I'm going to go to three decimal places. If it says round to the nearest whole number or the nearest tenth or two decimal places, just follow the directions, but a safe number of decimals is always 3. So now I have side B. I'm going to do a similar setup to find side C, which would be sine of 50 over 12 equals sine of 95 over C. And again, I'm going to use the information for A since that was given, and then the only unknown would be C, or the missing side. So to solve for C, I would clear fractions. So I'd get C sine of 50 equals 12 sine of 95. So to solve for C, I would divide both sides by sine of 50. And then to find this value, I would just type this in my calculator, 12 sine of 95 divided by sine of 50, and I would get 15.605 for side C. And I've solved the triangle and found all the missing information. Taking a look at the next example here, we have another triangle and some given information. So the first thing I like to do is just kind of create a little chart to keep all my information straight. So here's what I have, and then I'm going to fill in the information that I have. So I have angle B and sides A and B. I can't go ahead and find my angles just as is. I only have one angle, so it's not like I can add 2 and subtract it from 180. But I do have side A and side B, so the first thing I'm going to find is angle A, because that's the only thing I'm missing in my law of sines setup. So my setup would be sine of A over 16 equals sine of 80 over 17. And the variable that I'm going to be finding is A, which means I'm going to end up using an inverse or arc sine function, or the second sine button on your calculator, because what I'm solving for is an angle. So to solve this, the easiest way, instead of cross multiplying here, is actually just to multiply both sides by 16. And the reason I would do that is because I'd get the left side to be sine of a all by itself. And when you multiply sine of 80 over 17 times 16, you just multiply across the top. And then to find, what I would do here is, you can either type 16 sine of 80 over 17 and get a decimal for that, and then take the inverse sign, or you could just take the inverse sign of that whole fraction. Either way, you'll get the same answer. You might be more comfortable one way or the other, and I'll try and do both intermittently just so you can kind of see how that goes. So if I literally type second sine, or sine inverse, of that fraction, that will be equal to whatever angle A is. So in this case, angle A would be 67.953 degrees. So what I'm going to do is take that angle, just put it in my chart up at the top there, and then I've found one of my missing pieces of information. Now at this point, I can't set up a law of sines right now because I'm missing both angle C and side C. So the next thing I would do is I would find angle C by taking 180 minus the two angles that I have, because then once I have angle C, which in this case would be 180 minus 80 minus the angle I just found, 67.953. So angle C would be 32.047 degrees. So now that I have all three angles, the information I'm missing is side C. So I would set up a law of sines to find that side. So sine of 80 over 17 equals sine of 32.047 over C. And then to solve for C, I would clear fractions or cross multiply, and I would get C sine of 80 equals 17 sine of 32.047. And then to solve for C, I would have to divide both sides by 80, or excuse me, sine of 80. So C is equal to 17 sine of 32.047 divided by sine of 80, and what I would get for a value there is approximately 9.159. So that's all the missing information that I have, so I would be finished with this problem.